Yes, guys, and welcome back to the WM32 podcast. This week we are rounding up the January transfer window. In the week that the summer transfer window got pushed back to the 1st of September. Let's have a quick recap of what happened in January. Starting off with, unfortunately, the worst league leaders in history with the worst manager because we need a winter break. Liverpool.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they needed to do too much in the transfer window. I don't think anyone's really going to go in and make that much of a difference to the way Liverpool are going at the minute. They are absolutely flying. But getting Minamino in and getting him done early, I think, was
cheap.
Yeah, it was it could be a shrewd signing. Obviously, he's played against Liverpool, so the players and obviously most of the coaching staff will know what he's about. Probably scouted intensively as well. I do see him being a bit of an upgrade on Adam Lallana, but a similar type of player in the fact that he could probably play across that front three, but then also maybe as a number 10 should Liverpool want to play with a number 10, because I think at times Klopp has done that, but in the little bits and pieces that we've seen of Minamino since he's arrived, I think he's looked quite bright, and he's absolute bargain. What was it, like 7 million? That's nothing in the market these days. So shrewd bit of business by Liverpool, and again they're just tinkering the team
just
along
keeping
the way.
it going because it looks like Shaqiri's no longer favoured, even though being a utility player last year. Lallana isn't going to get any more game time. It doesn't look like they've got good youngsters going through, so it's a good signing. But someone said to me, if they're going to sell one, it looks like they're going to sell one of their front three, whether this summer or the next summer, then Minamino will go straight in and replace one of them.
Well, if you look at it, obviously, like you say, good young players coming through. Lallana's 32, not got long left on his contract either. Shaqiri, I think, went to Liverpool as more of a squad player anyway, and has struggled with injuries this season. I don't anticipate Liverpool getting rid of their front three anytime soon, because it would take a stupid amount of money for even Liverpool to bat an eyelid at any bid.
Yeah.
But like I say, I think Minamino will be a good option, and with the level of games that Liverpool are having, not only this season but it looks like as well next season with the way that they're going, he'll prove to be a bit of a shrewd signing for the Red Men.
It's just very debatable with Liverpool at the moment, because you could see them looking to do a bit of a squad turnover, because we've all said it matters about big sides where they know when to sell their best players before they age up, before they lose too much money on them.
Yeah, but I think Liverpool the squad and the age profile of the squad is quite good. They're all sort of fairly late-ish 20s, not 28, 29, that 27 mark, quite a few of the players there, or 27, 28, not 29, 30, 31, that kind of thing. So this Liverpool group could be together for a little while at least. So I think unfortunately for the rest of us at the minute, they're going to be there to stay, and a couple of tweaks along the way will get them. They're doing all sorts at the minute, so with a couple of tweaks and the pulling power that they can potentially have now, it's who knows what they can achieve.
Now to what is basically everyone's second favourite club in England, Leicester.
But it's not mine.
Yeah, we know why that
it's
is.
Not mine.
Yours is West Ham. Pretty quiet from them in January, mainly trying to keep hold of their best players, and they did so.
Yeah, I think keeping the likes of Chilwell, Soyuncu, who's coming out of absolutely nowhere really, Maddison, Tielemans, keeping hold of these young players, I think for Leicester was the big thing in the window. Ryan Bennett on loan is a very, very, very strange signing. I know we're going to touch on what Wolves did in the window, but it's a strange signing. I can't quite get my head around, because Leicester have got Philip Benkovic, who's a young centre-half, was on loan at Celtic and did alright at Celtic by all accounts when he was there, and like I say, young centre-half, expecting him to potentially get a bit more of a look in this season, and it just hasn't happened. So I think they were obviously, he's gone on loan to Bristol City, and things like that in the Championship. But yeah, so I guess they're getting a sort of tit for tat, but it's almost like, well, why let one player go and get another one in just to replace the player you're going to let go? I find that a little bit strange. But yeah, I think, like I say, other than that, it was more about Leicester sort of keeping that team and the squad that they've got together. And I think while Ryan Bennett does bring a little bit of experience, Premier League experience as well, obviously playing with Wolves and when he was at Norwich, and things like that. But that one for me was just a strange signing, and one that sort of come out of nowhere. You're watching Deadline Day and all of a sudden he's turning up at Leicester's training ground. You're there like, what? Oh, really? But Brendan's obviously seen something. The recruitment department at Leicester have seen something in him, and maybe he can just help them until the end of the season, because Wes Morgan, 35, 36 now, so he's probably coming to the end. Johnny Evans is aging a little bit as well now, so I know he's got a great relationship with Soyuncu at the back at the minute, but futuristically I think Leicester might potentially be in the market for a centre half in the summer.
Very, very likely. You brought up their system of how they bring in players and their sort of like scouting, and we've known it's been good for a while.
Yeah.
Is that what surprised you with them going and getting Ryan Bennett? Because I've always said Brendan Rodgers isn't great at picking out players to sign. Like, at this Leicester side, he hasn't actually signed any of the squad up. You can technically say Tielemans, but he was already there on loan.
Yeah.
And he also brought, I can't remember the lad's name, from Celtic with him as part of like the recruitment.
Yes. And he was a key. I can't think of the guy's name either, but I know who you mean. A key, but I think Brendan wanted him in especially, and I think Brendan Rodgers' recruitment when he was at Celtic was very, very good. Scott Sinclair for 4 million ended up winning a treble. Nichan they got from City for next to nothing, as well, and has been a really, really good player for Celtic, and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, the Ryan Bennett one just seemed very, very strange. I don't know if perhaps Leicester needed an English player for the squad quota or whatnot, and then they felt, well, we need one perhaps at centre half. Let's look at those particular options. But I think this window has been very, very difficult for clubs to try and get players in. So I don't think that's why we didn't see too much in terms of a flurry of players moving like we have in previous windows. But yeah, like I say, I anticipate that Leicester will probably be in the market for a centre half minimum, I would suggest, in the summer window for sure.
Now let's move across to your club, Spurs. I've regrettably said probably the best side, the side that's done the best business in the window.
I will probably challenge that, because I don't think this was a strange January for Tottenham. It was key. It was as key to get players in as it was to get players out the door. Finally, shifted Eriksen, and been a lot of talk about Christian Eriksen and everything like that from Spurs fans. Listen, he was in the most powerful position as a player, saying that you want to leave with a year left on your contract. You couldn't time it. From a player's perspective, you couldn't time it any better. I don't think the clubs that he wanted came in for him. But he's gone to Inter. He's on absolute dough at Inter now, by the way. And I think Spurs fans are just going, look, thank you for the years of service that you gave, but we're sad it ended in the way it did, because he did tail off. Getting Danny Rose out was great business. I know.
He looked buzzing, by the way.
Yeah, he did. Those awkward smiles in the pictures, and I hope he finds a good chip shop up in Newcastle. But yeah, I think the key thing was as well, and fair play to Tottenham's admin, social media admin for this, was the moment Christian Eriksen was announced that he'd gone. Giovanni Lo Celso was announced as a permanent, and that was just brilliant timing. I don't anticipate the deal had already been done for Lo Celso, but it was just a case of timing. And that sort of put Spurs fans in a good mood again. And then, getting Jedson Fernandez in, who is looking like
before you buy sort of thing.
Yeah, he's looking like a good player, and he's a big lad as well, Jedson Fernandez. So that
big boy.
Yeah, if we look at Mourinho's time at United and the players and the type of profile of player that he brought in, it was like land of the giants pretty much.
Yeah.
But no, Jedson, from the bits that he's been with, as Spurs fans, been exposed to at the minute, he's looked good, and I think there is a player there. Whether we'll end up getting him on a permanent, I don't know. I think the club might look to do it in the summer, depending on how he goes from now to the end of the season. And then Stevie Wonder, Stevie Bergvin. What a player this guy's going to be for us, by the way, because he is, I think, what we've lacked recently in terms of another bit of an injection in pace in wide areas, and he's quite direct as well. He's caused Spurs a lot of problems last season in the Champions League and whatnot, and things like that. Scored a fantastic goal last Sunday against City, and on his debut, considering it's his debut, massive game like that, I think he done all right. And he's saying that there's more to come there, but I think there was a feel good factor from that game, especially with Spurs, because it felt like a change was happening.
Yeah.
The gaffer Poch spoke about a rebuild happening. It was going to be a painful rebuild, and whatnot. And if you look at the age profile of our last 5-6 signings, that indicates that there is a rebuild underway. That there's
good age profile of your
squad. And I think as well, because I've spoken to some Spurs fans, and they've bemoaned our recruitment strategy, but the age profile suggests that there is a recruitment strategy in place, and whatnot, with, like I say, with the age profile of player that we're buying. But we've got those players in, but yet we still need fullbacks. We still need a ball-winning midfielder, not a holding midfielder, and there is a difference, as I've pointed out to people, because a holding midfielder in Europe is somebody that starts and dictates play, starts attacks, dictates play. In England, Harry Winks for me is a holding midfield player. Ollie Skip's a holding midfield player. But over here we see a holding midfielder as somebody that just buries people. That just nails people and buries people all the time. That's a ball-winning midfielder, so I think we need one of those. And obviously striker. I think that was the big frustration. We were linked with Piontek, William Jose, Giroud, Moussa Dembele. We didn't get anybody in, and we're still sort of in the same situation.
That's why I think you got Stevie Wonder in, because of you can move Sonny into that position, you can move Moore into that position. They're both very capable of doing that. I am going to point out there is a lot of Spurs fans that have gone mental about Bergwijn. So, in recent history, only one player signed in January has scored 10 goals between January and the end of the season. Do you know who it is?
Yeah, Aubameyang.
So, I don't expect him to hit that 10 goal mark, especially playing on the wing, but I expect him to have a bigger impact, and I think that could be the signing that saves you without Kane.
Well, I hope so, but like you said, I don't expect him to be that player that's going to, like you say, he'll chip in with goals, but he's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be a consistent goal scorer. I think there's other parts to his game that he will contribute to the team with. So it is probably up to the likes of Son and Mora, Dele, even Lo Celso, to a certain degree, to start stepping up to the plate now that we haven't got Captain Kane.
Also, ball-winning midfielder. Could you just not use Ndombele in your squad as?
But he's not fit.
Yeah,
he's had
fit.
Massive fitness issues with Ndombele, and he looks a lot of Spurs fans are moaning because he looks absolutely knackered like all the time, and he just looks like he's blowing. But there is undoubted quality with Tanguy Ndombele. Like, he's just on a different level to any player within the Tottenham team, within the Tottenham squad at the minute. So we just got to be patient with him. I think the thing is, because we lost Moussa Dembele, and then we've signed somebody who's got a similar name and plays
Evolved.
and plays in like almost a similar fashion in a similar way. But Spurs fans are going, go be Moussa Dembele, go be Moussa. No, he's a little bit different in that he's got better vision than Moussa Dembele, so he spots these passes that you're just like,
Where? How?
yeah. Nobody else on the ground sees them. So hopefully he'll come good.
Let's face it took Moussa Dembele a little bit of time to settle in.
It did, but then Dembele changed the role that he played when he signed from Fulham. So we bought him from Fulham as like a number 10, and then converted him into the greatest of all time.
Now let's talk about a club that you have said are playing Football Manager.
Real life Football Manager, Sheffield United. Oh my days. Oh my days. If anybody knows about Sheffield United's window, then you have played Football Manager for ages. Sander Berger is an unbelievable signing for Sheffield United. Sheffield United have just been promoted and they're signing one of the hottest properties in Europe. Like, this guy was getting touted here, there and everywhere. Like, that's just an unreal signing. Obviously the fans and Billy Sharp and everybody have just taken to him because they know the level of player that they've got. Restos at centre half. Don't know how they've pulled that one out the bag, but again, that's another sign that you just go, oh my life.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Severovic, the striker, FM wonder kid. Like, if you know about this guy. Got a bit of Premier League experience with Jack Rodwell, but good luck keeping him fit. Jack Robinson as well, I think, will provide some good competition for Ender Stevens in that left wing back role, but then can also slot in as a left-sided centre back if need be with the way that Sheffield United play. And yeah, for me, Sheffield United has had an unbelievable window, like, unbelievable. I think they've also been quite clever in trying to get players out the door. So I know that Richard Stearman's gone to Huddersfield and Ravel Morrison has gone on loan to Middlesbrough, and a couple of others that were just sort of sitting there really have left. But I think Sheffield United have gone about their transfer business in the right way. You know, in the summer they bought some players that it was like, right, well, we'll see how we get on and then we'll reassess come January. And then they've taken it to January, reassessed and gone, right, we're in this position now, we're now fortunate and able enough to go for that next level of player, and that's why you see Sander Berger and Restos and Severovic coming in through the door. But I think they're still careful as well with the signings, like Jack Robinson and Jack Rodwell. They're two more conservative signings, but the other three, they're like, how are these rocked up at Bramall Lane? Like, what's going on here? Because whatever happens at Sheffield United now, like, they could sell Sander Berger they'll make profit on Sander Berger.
Yeah.
By no end. Like, they could get 40, 50 million for him, like, tomorrow. It's ridiculous. Like, he's unbelievable, Sander Berger. And yeah, I just think they've had the best window not because of the fact they've just been promoted and they're attracting these players. It's the way that they've gone about the recruitment process. As well, and you know, they're going to enhance the way the team plays as well. So they're not just buying players for the sake of buying players. They're looking at it and going, right, well, he's going to add something different. He's going to add something. Right, and then they get them in, and then they're going to play and let them go.
So let's go to the red side of Manchester, and finally, the most just didn't need to be drawn out this long, but they finally got him in, Bruno Fernandes, and by the end of his first game was wearing a Wolves shirt.
yeah. I don't know if he's went, nah, scrap this. I'm going to go with my Portuguese mates at Wolves, but no, Bruno Fernandes is going to be a top signing. It was linked with Tottenham in the summer, and I was like, oh my god, like another sort of FM player that you just go and buy, and you're like, geez, just sign him. But yeah, United took a while to get this one done, and I think that was frustrating United fans a lot because of how long it was taking. And the thing was, the two clubs weren't that far apart, so it was just like, well, just come to an agreement quickly and get it done and get him in and get him settled. because like now it's come to the end of the window, they've got him in, and now all of a sudden United are on a winter break.
Yeah.
So it's stop-start already for Bruno Fernandes. But actually, the thing that I liked about him in the game against Wolves was that he's come in at Man United. All right, forget the price tag for a minute. He's coming at Man United and he's telling players where they need to be already. So he's showing that that level of leadership quality that he's probably had at Sporting. But yeah, he looked a really, really good player against Wolves, and you know, I know United fans are buzzing that they've finally got their man. So that's a pleasing thing, I think, for everybody at the football club. He will add
a bit more quality to that midfield
and a bit more creativity as well, with goals and assists and things like that. He was spotting passes in that game against Wolves, and you're just there like, I think United fans were going, where has this guy been like all our lives, or the last sort of 7 years or whatever, because he's what we've needed, and that will come out a little bit more as well once the other players start getting used to him, and he gets used to the way the other players play as well.
Especially they've had problems without Pogba. Like, they haven't looked as creative, they haven't looked as threatening. We've seen United fans seem to not like Pogba, but everyone knows his star quality, and now they've got someone in who is not of a Pogba level, but of a level that can still get him through games when he's not there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the signing of Igalo is interesting. Very interesting.
He's only just got to the country thanks to China.
Yeah, well, that was the thing with the whole business going on with China at the moment. There was talk of players potentially becoming available, and then some fans got excited, and especially some Spurs fans, about getting Moussa Dembele back. But no, I think everybody knows the score with Igalo. He's going to come in for 6 months, bit of stopgap, and then United will look again and reassess again in the summer. But they need to address the fact that they need a striker. But they wasn't really. I mean, it was strange because you would read that United are getting linked with players all the time, but then
155 players, 60 of them strikers.
But nothing. There was no sort of credence to it. It was just like, well, United need this player. They need this player. Let's link them with,
that's
say,
the thing.
10 or
It's
whatever.
a lot of it is newspapers just going, "Oh, he played well against them 5 years ago. They're linked with him," sort of thing. Like, United are an easy club to go, yeah, you're linked with. To, like, even apparently some clubs will use United as a link to say.
Yeah,
and to get more money.
Yeah. I mean, Sander Berger was linked with Man United, and
Yeah.
there was rumours that he was actually at Carrington
Well, look
doing
at
a medical. So that again proves how much of a coup he is for Sheffield United. If he's been linked with Manchester United, and all of a sudden Sheffield United have come in and
look at Haaland as well. Was apparently flying there. Some of his family live in Leeds. He went to Leeds, but apparently it's because they wouldn't meet certain stuff in his contracts. They didn't get him.
Yeah, I think that was the agent, Mino Raiola, wanting a bit extra to make the deal happen, and United and Raiola don't particularly get on, which is quite interesting because within January Lingard has changed his agent to Mino Raiola. So
watch him at Everton next time.
yeah, but I think United is still glaringly obvious.
There's holes in that squad that need to be fixed,
and it's glaringly obvious. So. Well, they have to do something in the summer because they're going to get left behind, I think, and they are in danger of being left behind quite drastically.
Easily, yeah.
I think the name is dragging them through at the moment in terms of their recruitment.
And it's like the way a lot of things are going wrong off the field as well now.
Yeah.
It's like we've always known Ed Woodward wasn't a football man, was a commercial man. Obviously helped advise the Glazers to buy United, then came in. We've seen what's happened with the fans and his clash.
Yeah.
It could be ugly scenes at United for the next couple of years, even more so than what's gone just past.
Yeah, I think they need the big names in at Man United, and they need results on the pitch. They're the two big things. United have always notoriously bought a superstar.
Yeah.
But they haven't really bought the superstar in the last couple of transfer windows. So that will need, but like I say, United notoriously bought a superstar, and under Fergie it would work. Under the previous regimes over the last sort of 7 years. It hasn't, as we've spoken about when we spoke about Man United. But something needs to change with them, and because, like I say, they could end up getting left behind because there's other clubs that are pushing for sure.
So let's travel across the country to the new Portugal and Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Nuno's dream. Very, very interesting transfer window from Wolves. Nuno come out saying that he wants players and now's the right time to invest in the squad. So you're expecting a few players coming in at Wolves and they didn't do too much. I think Nuno's notoriously liked a small squad, and they've been very, very fortunate under his stewardship really with injuries, because they've not had too many, and if they have, they've been able to cope. Losing Ryan Bennett on loan was a weird one. Said to somebody that I know that's a Wolves fan, I said, well, why are you letting him go? He said, it's not like you're overly stacked in that department of the pitch. And he said, I don't know. Again, it was a strange one all round. So, yeah, that was strange. Obviously, bringing in Cutrone in the summer looked a good buy. Hasn't really worked out. Hasn't had the football that he wants. But then Raul Jimenez has been in hot form, so you can't drop Raul Jimenez. So they've managed to ship him out. They got in Pedence, who looks like Eden Hazard when he plays, with his low centre of gravity and the way he twists and turns. Could be a good player for them, especially in those forward areas of the pitch. And will give them something different because he's more of a tricky player, whereas, you know, Adama Traore is very direct. Like, he gets the ball and he goes at you, and he's absolutely rapid as well. So good luck catching Adama Traore. Especially when you're playing FIFA and he's had an inform card as well, you've got no chance.
Doesn't go to the gym, by the way.
Yeah. And then you got Diogo Jota, who works very, very hard for the team and is more of a team player, but actually has a lot of quality. So Pedence will give them something else. I think they were looking at another striker as well, Nelson Oliveira, but that didn't quite happen. But yeah, little bit concerned with Wolves in terms of their squad depth. I know we spoke about it earlier on in the season, but now obviously they're in the last 32 of the Europa League, the Premier League games and everything like that. So, but I mean, the squad management from Nuno has been fantastic so far. So they've just got to keep that going. But I think they'll go again. They have to go again, I think, in the summer and bring a couple of bodies in, because, you know, if they lose, say, a couple of players, especially defensively, then they might come unstuck a little bit. But then they're going to have to dip into their academy and you know, those under 23 players to bring them through, which might be something that they look to do. But again, like I said, I think they've got to do a bit more in terms of their squad depth.
I don't want to do this one, but we're going to talk about Arsenal anyway. Quite a quiet window. Shock.
Well, I don't know what people were expecting at Arsenal, because Arteta's barely got his feet under the desk. So, but saying that, he's looked at it. You need a centre half. He's brought one in. Whether he's on FIFA or not is, you know, it's not for me to judge or anything like that. But it was at City once upon a time, Fabio Mari, and didn't quite work out for him there. But from the knowledge that I have of him, he's a bit of a no-nonsense centre-half. Yeah. He's an actual defender, which is what Arsenal have been crying out for the last however long.
17 years.
So he might come in and solve a few problems. Left-footed as well, which I think is key, because it will give the back line a balance as well, and whatnot. Cedric coming in on loan, strange one, don't get it.
But yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And
I think it's just because when Hector doesn't play, and him being our only right back.
Yeah.
Only right back.
Yeah, because Maitland-Niles isn't a right back.
He isn't. He's a centre mid, having to play there because he's absolutely killed us basically. So I think it's just cover.
You say that, but Cedric's injured. So there's no cover, is there? Like, you sign
cover towards the end of the season.
This is Kim Kallstrom 2.0. Literally, you sign another player in January that's injured. Denis Suarez was injured. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, let's not talk about Arsenal's recruitment system because it isn't great at the best of times.
So yeah, but I think again, a little bit like Arsenal just have to go again in the summer.
Well, let's face it, we're gonna have no money to spend, so.
Brilliant. You're going to get left behind and have to sell Aubameyang and Lacazette because you're not going to get any European football this season. So yeah, good
the
luck.
Europa League. What do you mean?
No, I think Wolves have got a better chance of winning it than you, and that's no disrespect to Wolves, by the way, because I like Wolves. But yeah, you got no chance.
Yeah, we don't. Season's over.
Never mind, Nick. Never mind.
Let's go to the place with the best chip shops in the land, Newcastle.
Have to be with Danny Rose there. Well, the Geordie Nation, fairly pleased with their window, I would suggest. Brought in some players that will help with their defensive cover that they're going to need because they're quite light in that area. Obviously, bringing in Danny Rose, I think that move is. I mean, I've spoken to Newcastle fans about Danny Rose, and they are absolutely buzzing. I don't know if they've
watched him play.
Probably not for the last couple of years. Well, since Danny Rose had that big knee injury, he's not been the same. But they're of the opinion that, well, he's playing in the back five anyway, so defensively he might not have to do too much.
Might help him then.
Yeah, it's going to help him massively. Lazaro will be a good signing down the other side. Again, give him a bit more, probably going forward. Bentaleb. Nabil Bentaleb. Wow.
Yeah, it was when that sign happened and you sent it to me on Instagram. I was like, "You're enjoying this."
he kept Moussa Dembele out of Tottenham 2 months upon a time. Just
watch him score a winner against you lot.
It probably will, but he's
assisted by Danny Rose.
Yeah, well, Danny Rose won't play and be ineligible, but
he's only on one now.
Yeah, they're happy with Bentaleb, and I again said to Newcastle fans that I spoke to, I said, well, he's a bit of a crab, like he won't do much. He might start off like a house on fire, but then if you end up signing him, he'll just fall away. Doesn't do too much, Nabil Bentaleb, and yeah, he's just not. But you know, for Newcastle, he might work out and be a fantastic signing.
It's gonna be a great midfield: Isaac Hayden, Nabil Bentaleb, John Joe Shelby.
John Joe Shelby's underrated in my opinion. I think he's got a fantastic passing range, but that's just me.
Yeah. But I think Winks is the best CDM in the league.
Steady. I think with Newcastle again, they probably wanted a number 9, a bit, target man, because it looks like they're going to have to rely on Andy Carroll, and notoriously you can't rely on Andy Carroll because he keeps breaking down. Joel Linton hasn't worked as of yet, but hasn't even looked anywhere near like he's going to work out at all because he's just nowhere near where any of the attacking plays for Newcastle at the minute. I think the defenders are scoring more than the attackers at Newcastle, so it's difficult for them at the minute. Yet they are finding a way somehow to get results. And I think they're getting the substance in the results, but the style is suffering off the back of it. So Newcastle again probably in the summer will have to go and get another striker. I know Bruce isn't too happy with his attacking options that he's got. He's come out and said that he wants to change the way Newcastle play, but can't because he hasn't got the personnel to do it as of yet, which is why they are playing the way that they are. But I remember at the start of the season I predicted Newcastle will be fine, unlike some people, and it looks like that they will be alright.
I just don't rate Steve Bruce as a good enough manager. That's me. Like a lot of.
Well, I'm gonna throw a bit of a curveball in there. He's got more points than Rafa.
Yeah, but this year's been a very poor year for the league.
He still managed to do it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, but Rafa Benitez won the Champions League.
Maybe, but Bruce has got more points on the board when managing that Newcastle side than Rafa had last year. I know Newcastle fans are going to kill me for that as well because they love Rafa.
Rafa's god most places he goes.
Yes, apart from Real Madrid.
Yeah.
But I think Newcastle will be alright anyway. Like I said, but I think if they'd have had Giroud, that would have been a really good signing for them. And then obviously they were linked with the Lille midfielders. It's Soumare.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been linked with everyone. So I think if that would have happened, their midfield would have just gone like 0 to 100 because he's a player.
Well, someone sent me a thing on Twitter the other day of a Newcastle fan. He was like, Steve Bruce is the equivalent to a full English. He's great when you have it, but gives you really high cholesterol.
Yeah.
Moving from Newcastle, we'll move down all the way south to Southampton. And what have they done?
What have they done? Well, they shipped out Cedric Suarez to you lot and got £5 million for it. So brilliant bit of business from them. Cedric's in the last part of his contract as well at Southampton. I think they'll look
to sign the contract as well.
Yeah, I don't think Southampton are
he's
too
a 3-year deal at Arsenal as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think Southampton are too keen because he's one of their big earners there. So they're probably looking at that to ship him out.
It's going to come to the summer. He's going to sign a 3-year deal at Arsenal on stupid money and sit on the bench doing nothing. Carl Jenkinson, 2.8.
Debussy.
Oh God, don't remind me of that guy.
But you know, they brought in Carl Walker-Peters from Spurs. Fantastic move for him and for the club Southampton because they're going to give him a platform to go and play games, which is what Carl Walker-Peters needs. And I think keeping hold of Danny Ings in January was big for them. Keeping hold of Højbjerg, who was strangely linked with Tottenham towards the end of the transfer window, and everyone was confused. Because it's like, well, where's that come from? We don't really need Pierre-Emile Højbjerg at all. But no, decent bit of business by Southampton. They've got a clear identity and have always really had a clear identity in terms of the way they recruit players. A lot of it coming through their academy and things like that. And their academy is still in that way of producing players that are coming through into the first team and whatnot. So yeah, and the weird thing is, I think Southampton for the first time in a while were in a very strong position in the transfer window.
Yeah.
Because they weren't fighting relegation all of a sudden. They were like mid-table, and you're sort of going, right, well, it then becomes a bit more of an attractive proposition for a player to go there. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Southampton do in the next window as well in terms of the way they recruit. I think they're wanting to go back to that English core of player that they had previously. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about that for sure in the next window.
Palace next up on our list of teams to talk to. I don't recall them doing much. My main question to you is: are they regretting not selling Zaha in the summer?
No. Why would they? He's their best player.
Yeah, but
why would any club sell their best player?
Well, we do it every summer, but
apart from Arsenal, why would any club sell your best player?
But from what I've watched of him, he has not performed at the level he did last season, which I called in the summer when everyone was linked. Well, Arsenal were linked to him.
But he's still Palace's best player, and actually you can. Could you almost forgive one iffy season for 4 or 5 really good seasons?
I would argue that because last year was the only year in his career that he scored over 10 goals.
Granted, but what he brings to Crystal Palace.
It's also basically what he brings to Crystal Palace is the basketball equivalent of gravity, where he will drag 2 or 3 extra players over.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't think Palace will regret ever selling Wilfried Zaha, or not selling Zaha, as the case was.
But if they end up selling him at some point, it's not going to be for the money that they were offered this summer.
Well, he's on a very good contract at Palace, so it's going to take a lot of money for any club to prize him away. I think bringing in Cenk Tosun on loan from Everton, obviously scored against City, which seems to be Palace seem to be City's bogey team for some weird reason, especially at the Etihad. It's just so strange. But yeah, I think obviously Palace needed a striker. They've got one in, and hopefully Tosun can, changing scenery. It can do him some good. I think they wanted Carl Walker-Peters desperately, and lost out to Southampton. And so I think they haven't replaced Wan-Bissaka as of yet. They didn't get, like I say, they didn't get Walker-Peters, so they went with Nathan Ferguson from West Brom, who's a decent young player coming up and coming through. but then there was complications with his medical. So yeah, I think that's the main concern, I think, for Palace. But Palace have always, for me, Palace have never really had a deep enough squad for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that they need to address, but then they've got to get the balance with it right, because they don't want to end up being overstacked. And actually, I saw quite a strange stat with Solarov, the striker that they've got, that they've sent out on loan to Trabzonspor, and I think he's bagged more goals recently than Palace have scored all season, which is really strange, because if you look at where Palace are in the league, then they're doing all right. I think one of the big things for Palace, obviously keeping Zaha, but keeping Roy Hodgson. I know Roy's in his 70s now and isn't going to go on forever, but the way he's setting Palace up at the minute is working for them. So I think any manager going into Palace now is going to have a hard task following Roy. But then, it's football; these things happen. And I think as well with Palace keeping hold of Van Aanholt, I know he's struggled with injuries a lot this season. Probably hasn't played too much, well, certainly from what I can remember. But yeah, I think that was key, because there was interest there from PSV late in the window. But he's been notoriously been quite key to the way that Palace play, and he can get forward and help with them when they counter attack on opposition teams. So I think Palace, by and large, have had a decent window. It could have been better if they'd have got a full-back in. But yeah, I think Palace again will be all right. But in the summer, they on their wish list has got to be a full-back and probably another striker.
So let's move from Palace to Villa.
Yeah.
Main thing for them was keeping hold of Grealish, at minimum till the summer.
Yeah, Jack Grealish is Villa's, but will Villa not regret selling Jack Grealish?
He'll go. They're gonna stay up this year.
But if they do, it'll be down to him.
Yeah, and they'll sell him for an obscene amount of money to someone like United.
The only reason I asked that question was the Zaha thing.
One, yeah.
Right. Villa's.
But the reason I asked that was because, as a smaller club in the Prem, if you get offered a ridiculous amount of money for a player, you normally go, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, but the difference here is that Palace are a London club, and this is going to sound a bit strange, but there is an attraction.
It isn't just to play in London.
Yeah, just for players to live in London, there's just an attraction there. So, yeah, I think that's why Palace can dig their heels in, because, well, we're a London club. That's literally it. Villa with Grealish, obviously Grealish is a Villa boy, Villa man, everything like that. Undoubtedly, has proven his quality this year. I've always been a bit sceptical of Grealish, but actually this year I've got to hold my hands up and go, he's pulling and he's dragging Villa through what has been a very iffy and difficult season for them. Obviously spent a Fulham amount of money in the summer on quite a lot of players, but they bulked the squad out, whereas Fulham were just going crazy and buying everybody, like left, right and centre, and just go in, work with that. Whereas I think, excuse me, with Villa there was a clear strategy and a clear process of how they were going to do it. In terms of the signings that they brought in, Pepe Reina, I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Pepe Reina, with the experience, is going to be vital for them. Drinkwater, get him playing first and foremost, I think is going to be key.
Yeah.
And hopefully he doesn't put in too many performances like he did against City, because the Villa fans will want him out pretty sharpish, I think. The striker, Samata, don't know too much about him, I'm afraid, Villa fans, but it was a striker that they need, and that was a position that they needed, so they filled that. I think they wanted another one to come in through the door, but then I don't think there was many out there. A lot of teams in January needed strikers, but there wasn't the availability of a striker for the clubs to go and get.
It was quite a poor window overall with moves anyway. There wasn't a lot of of people looking to move.
No. Again, probably Giroud would have been, but then Giroud wanted to stay in London, so that ruled out quite a lot of the Premier League. But yeah, I think if it's going to be difficult for Villa, just because I know that Wesley didn't score the goals that they needed, but I think his overall play was getting better.
Reminds me of Monday Night Football.
And he started to bring others into play, and then Villa could build and play from there. So it's a shame that they've lost him. Hopefully Samata can add a little bit of something to Villa's forward line, because they're going to need it going forward, because they just can't keep relying on Grealish to bail them out all the time. Because there's going to come a time when they're going to come unstuck and look at potentially, they're in a bit of a relegation scrap at the minute, but it could get even worse for them potentially if others don't start stepping up. But I think John McGinn's been a massive miss in the midfield as well for them. He brings a lot to the way Villa play.
Moving from Villa to West Ham.
Another team that play in claret and blue, by the way. West Ham. Gift that keeps on giving. Us fans. We love you, West Ham, really. You're like that little annoying brother that keeps trying to pipe up every time, and then we're just like, no, just stay in your slot. Stay in your place.
Controller too.
Yeah, literally. Interesting times at West Ham. Bringing in Darren Randolph, who's got the same injury as the other goalkeepers, and that's why the deal took ages. I think even Jonathan Woodgate saying it's the longest medical in history. And Jonathan Woodgate's had quite a few medicals. Somehow passed them as well, by the way, but he's had quite a few. Don't know too much about the centre mid that they've bought, but they needed someone, because I think other than Rice and Noble that have played a lot of games, Carlos Sanchez is woeful.
Yeah.
Jack Wilshere is a hospital patient and part-time footballer, which I know it hurts for you to hear that, because he claims to be an Arsenal boy, even though he's a West Ham fan.
So he grew up for our academy. It makes him an Arsenal.
He didn't, because he got him from Luton.
Yeah,
So yeah, they needed somebody in that midfield, and then Jared Bowen coming in. Again, was set to go to Palace, and Palace have missed out on that one as well. But I think Jared Bowen will give them something a little bit different. Will score some goals, so that will take the weight off of Haller's shoulders.
Yeah. Which is a lot of weight, by the way.
Oh, it's massive. It's absolutely massive. So Bowen will relieve that pressure, like I say. Likes to get in the box, can probably play across all of that front, the front sort of four positions. I think West Ham are toying between a back three and a back four at the minute. But no, will certainly help. Has an eye for a goal and has been doing really, really well in the Championship. Was linked with Tottenham not so long ago, and has ended up at West Ham.
Gone to a bigger club then.
Well, one's going to be playing in the Championship next season, because if you look at West Ham's fixtures, they are in deep, deep trouble. But yeah, no, Jared Bowen will be a decent signing for West Ham, and it's one of those signings that you buy now, but then there's also, I think there's a twofold here, because if West Ham do gain a miracle, and it's going to have to be a miracle, by the way, and stay up, they've got a decent player there. But then if they do go down, fingers crossed, that they go down, they've also got a player that knows the Championship and will excel, no doubt, in that division, like he has been doing with Hull. Massive loss for Hull as well, because he scored a lot of their goals. So good luck for Hull trying to replace Bowen with his, not only with his play, but with his output as well, goals and assists.
Okay, now from West Ham to Norwich.
They had I think that Norwich are one of these clubs that have had a decent window in terms of keeping players at the football club.
Yeah.
Keeping Max Aarons, who more than likely might be sold in the summer, because it looks like Norwich could go down. So unfortunately for Norwich, they might have to get him. Well, unfortunately for Norwich, they won't get the money for him potentially in the summer that they would have done in January. I've been a big fan of Max Aarons for the last sort of 18 months. He won EFL Young Player of the Year last year and was fantastic for Norwich last year and has taken to the Premier League like a duck to water. So keeping him has been key. Keeping Jamal Lewis on the other side has been key as well, because I think he'll have a lot of suitors. He's a modern day fullback as well, can get forward but can also defend, which is a rare commodity it seems. Look at Danny Rose. Ben Godfrey staying as well, big key for them defensively. Todd Cantwell staying. I like Todd Cantwell a lot. Very, very similar to Maddison in the way that he plays. But again, like I said, I think Norwich keeping those four especially was key. Keeping Teemu Pukki's scoring their goals and whatnot, and then bringing in a couple of players that the manager will probably know from his time in Germany as well. That will just potentially add a little bit of something to the dynamic in the squad of their players, and then a couple on loan, and then one that was, I don't even think he was like $500,000. So Norwich haven't really spent too much. So again, they've got a plan in place of they're being a bit careful just in case they do drop, and they haven't overspent, but then actually have kept their star players in the football club to then hopefully give them a chance at least of trying to stay up.
Norwich to Burnley.
Burnley have had a interesting window. Obviously, they lost Drinkwater, but he wasn't really playing much anyway because he was injured and getting into fights in nightclubs. So they've lost that midfield. They've lost one, but then they brought in Josh Brownhill from Bristol City. But then Burnley's a weird one because they're very settled and very structured in the way that they do things in terms of the way they play. Everybody knows what you're going to get from Burnley. So for any player to come in, you've got to be of something to even try and dislodge one of those players, because it looks like that Dyche has got a very tight-knit group, but he trusts them a lot and doesn't like to tinker with the team too much. Selling Nahki Wells, it never really worked out for him at Burnley. I know why they brought him in, just to try and give them a bit of something different up top. But yeah, it never really worked out for him. I think if Wells was to stay, then Vidra would have gone. I think they might look at trying to get rid of Vidra in the summer and look again for someone attacking wise. But then I think Dyche came out and said it's quite difficult for Burnley in this market because they're not going to be ones to go out and spend 20-25 million on a player. But then even dropping down into the Championship and trying to get players is very, very difficult for them, because the Championship clubs are demanding a lot of money for their players. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time for Burnley because we've got a very experienced group of pros in there. I would have liked to have seen a quick winger come in, just give Burnley something different. But then Dwight McNeil's just been fantastic for them ever since he broke in. So yeah. But again, probably another winger on the other side, just to give Burnley something a little bit different in terms of the way they play. But I think the big thing for Burnley is they're missing Ashley Barnes and whatnot. He's been pivotal to the way that Burnley play, and he's so awkward to play against.
If he had played against Arsenal, Burnley win that game.
Probably, because he would have ruffled whoever's playing at
Louise and Mustafi.
Oh, he's had a field day.
They had enough trouble with Jay Rodriguez.
Oh, listen, Ashley Barnes having a field day with Louise and Mustafi. Was Kolasinac playing at left back?
No.
Oh, imagine that. He'd have been licking his lips.
It was Saka till he went off injured. Then Granit Xhaka played at left back.
So yeah, I think that's been the big miss really for Burnley. But obviously, they had a fantastic result away at United and whatnot not so long ago. And yeah, I anticipate Burnley will do a little bit in the summer. I don't think they'll do too much. I'll be very surprised if they do a lot. But like I say, the group's very settled. It's quite an experienced group. So yeah, maybe a couple of tweaks maybe for Burnley in the summer. Yeah, but I think it will depend on who goes out. I know they rejected a lot of offers for Ben Gibson, who has come in for a lot of money and then has barely played. But I think that's been down to the form of me and Tarkowski and the fact that they don't really get injured. Burnley are a bit similar to Wolves in the fact that a lot of the players defensively don't get injured. I think Wolves' squad doesn't really get injured a lot, but Burnley defensively don't get too many injuries, especially down the spine of the team. They don't really
They're
get.
normally absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Same start 11 most weeks.
Yeah, you can pretty much pick the Burnley like 1 to 11 most weeks, to be honest. But like I said, it'll probably go again in the summer window.
Now, Chelsea. Like the next few clubs that we're going to speak about didn't out, basically.
Yeah. Chelsea, I think everybody, including Frank Lampard himself, was hoping and anticipating that signings would come in, and it didn't really happen. I know they were linked with Cavani and Dries Mertens and Zaha and Sancho and even Ben Chilwell, but nothing really happened at Chelsea. I think Frank was getting a bit frustrated with it, but then I think at the same time Chelsea have done okay in terms of keeping some players especially that they've got that are proving to be key for Frank at the moment, so for the right now. Keeping hold of Willian, I think Frank is thinking that Willian is a key part of his team, and whatnot, key player in the dressing room, and whatnot. Obviously we know the influx of these younger players that are coming in now at Chelsea, but you've got to balance that out with some experience, and I think that's why Frank's been a bit reluctant to let Willian go. I know Willian's 32 now, so but his experience will be invaluable for these younger players and whatnot. But yeah, I think Chelsea will be frustrated with the window because there's certain things that they need, like they need a left back, because I don't think Emerson and Marcus Alonso are gonna be Chelsea players for too much longer, unless they go and revert back to Azpilicueta playing at left back, and then Reece James
on the right,
playing right back. So
they could do that.
But yeah, I think, and obviously they needed a striker, I think, to help Abraham. Obviously, Giroud not going didn't help the situation. Giroud wanted to go, but Chelsea were being stubborn by saying no, we're only going to let you go unless we get somebody in, and they didn't get somebody in.
Yeah.
So again, that's probably killed that. But no, like I say, Chelsea might be a little bit frustrated with their transfer window. But in the summer, they'll probably spend. They'll look to get and fill those positions that they need.
It's going to be an absolute war at Chelsea, because you're looking, they're going to go after Chilwell. That's going to be, we're guessing around 70-80 minimum.
Yeah.
Jadon they want. That's 150
at least. But I think Chelsea
are going to sell to balance the books.
Well, Chelsea have got players still. They have quite a few that are out on loan.
Yeah.
So they could potentially look to move them on, like Drinkwater and players like that. That I anticipate will probably leave. And I think there might be one or two. I think Chelsea's thing is a left back and maybe a winger or two, because Pedro is aging. Willian's
aging.
And has not got, both of them I don't think have got long left on their contracts anyway. So they'll need replacing. And then I think there'll be a couple of others, like that are more sort of squad players at the minute, that will go. So they might even look at a centre half as well, because I don't think the centre halves they've got at the minute are overly convincing. I think when Christensen's played, he's not looked
comfortable at all.
No, which is strange, because when Christensen first came into that Chelsea side, he looked a good player. But now he looks a bit like lost of confidence, really. So they might look to move him on, but then they'll probably get someone in anyway. So I think with Chelsea, like I say, it's more if they can balance it in terms of getting players out and then they'll get players in. I think that's the way they'll go about it.
From Chelsea to Bournemouth, and as we said a couple of weeks ago, they don't need to do anything. They didn't do anything. I think Eddie Howe was saying that they were looking at loans rather than permanence, and it was a case of them getting their injured players back and back fit.
I don't think that has happened as quickly as probably Bournemouth would have liked. Keeping hold of Josh King, I think, was quite key for Bournemouth. I think he's a big player for them in terms of the way they play, because he's not an out-and-out number 9, but then I wouldn't say he's a 10 either. But he's a player that plays up top but drops deep and finds positions that are quite hard to. He's quite a clever player, Josh King. Not the most glamorous of player, but he's actually quite a clever player in terms of what he does on the pitch, and gives so much to Bournemouth. But yeah, I think that was the key, and obviously keeping Nathan Ake, keeping Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser, all of these players that have done so well for Bournemouth, keeping them at this time in the position that they're in, was the big thing, I think, for Bournemouth, because I think if they would have started to have a bit of a fire sale, they'd have been in deep trouble. The only thing I would say that I was quite surprised at with Bournemouth was the fact that they are down there, they do need a goal scorer, and yet they allowed Jermaine Defoe to sign for the Rangers. And I know of his age, 37 now, but he still has the capability of, and knows where the goal is, and has the capability of scoring goals. So that was the strange one for me, and I was thinking, well, why don't Bournemouth just get him back in and get him in the team, and at least to the end of the season, and then start going from there. But hopefully Bournemouth will be alright, and like I said, they'll get their players back and go on a bit of a run towards the end of the season that should steer them safe. But you never know. You never know.
Next up on our list, Watford.
Watford.
Yet again, not much.
No, nothing.
Didn't need much.
Well, Pearson's gone in and has done fantastically well, I think, for Watford. It'd have been very strange if he'd have cut and Watford all of a sudden went on like a 10-11 game unbeaten run, because I don't think Watford will really do that. Obviously wanted Ben Gibson from Burnley, that didn't happen, and yeah, it's Watford's a strange one, because you're not 100% sure the way that they're going to go about things, and sometimes players turn up and you're like, how's he ended up at Watford? But they somehow managed to get it working. I know they bought a guy in from Udinese, which, as I said a couple of weeks ago, always makes me laugh when that happens, because obviously the owners own both clubs.
Keeping the accountant busy.
Yeah. So hopefully he'll give them something going forward in the latter part of the season. But yeah, Watford. I didn't think Watford needed much. They just need to persevere and always keep going with the way that they're doing things, and hopefully results will turn in their favour in this next part of the season, and that they can at least look to try and stay up, because it is quite tight at the bottom at the minute. So they've got to try and scrape some points from somewhere. I think they're probably hoping that they've got West Ham coming up soon. I don't think they have, but if they did have
got West Ham and Arsenal coming up, and that's 6 points there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Next up on the list, Everton. Yet again, keeping hold of Richarlison, massive, but that would have just been a panic buy by Barcelona.
Well, I did see somebody put that the people at Barcelona were still probably off their heads for Ibiza away when they had them in the Copa del Rey. I understand Everton's standpoint on it, because Richarlison is a key player for them, but 100 million euros is just a bit of that has landed on your desk.
I'd sell you for £5.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if 100 million euros is just a bit of that amount of money has just landed on your desk, and you've rejected it. It just seems so strange. Like, obviously I get Everton's standpoint in that Richarlison's a key player for them, but it's 100 million euros, like 85 odd million. Do you know what I mean? Everton could reinvest that in other areas of the squad.
Yeah.
They could go and get a couple of players maybe with that money, but again, Everton are a bit like Arsenal in the fact that Carlo's still getting his feet under the desk at Everton. And whatnot, but I expect them to be busy in the summer window in terms of trying to get players in, because they're going to need a little bit of something. But just hope for Everton's sake that there's a plan and a strategy in place to be able to do it, and that they give the manager time. I anticipate they will, because of what he's achieved in the game and what
Yeah.
he's won and everything like that. But all of a sudden now Everton are looking a bit more of an attractive prospect for a player because you've got the new stadium on the horizon. You've got
Carlo's there as well.
like I say, you've got a manager that's worked with some of the best players in the world. So, and now they are able, with the financial backing that they've got, they're able to pay players a bit more money, whereas in previous years they've not been able to do that. So, like I say, Everton now is a bit more of an attractive prospect for players going there. It's just about who goes there, for me.
Very true. Next up, Brighton. And, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Brighton didn't do. I don't think they did anything. If they did, they brought the young right back in from Chelsea, Lampardy, I think.
Yeah.
And that was about it. I think Glenn Murray's just signed a new contract, another 1 year extension.
He's about 54.
Yeah, but he's had to change his role, Glenn Murray, because obviously he was Brighton's number one main striker, and all of a sudden Morpay's come in and done
absolute bits.
He's done all right for them. The signing of McAllister from Boca Juniors is an interesting one, especially with the way Brighton have played this season, in terms of the way they've set up, because a lot of the time they've played with like a back three. So it'll be interesting to see where he plays, because he's more of an attacking midfielder. Listening to Tim Vickery speaking about him, he's he's a player that has got a lot of ability, wants to play as a 10, but I think the physical side of the game over here might mean that he's shifted out wide a bit more. So it'll be interesting to see how he does, but I think from Brighton's perspective, they feel like they've got a really, really good player there and they want him in. I know they had issues with work permits and stuff, but they managed to get that sorted, and then there was a dispute with regards to getting him in with Boca Juniors, but they've got him now, and I don't anticipate him to do too much between now and the end of the season, but for next season certainly he could be a really, really good player.
Squad.
100%.
After that, the biggest letdowns of my year, Man City.
Yeah. Imagine going from like Brighton to Man City. Yeah, we've done that. We've
Yeah.
done that quite well. Completely different ends of the spectrum, but I think City. This has been an interesting one for Man City. I think people on the outside are going, "I need a centre half. I need a centre half. I need this." Well, I think the people in the building at City are just being a bit careful and just being a bit relaxed about things, not pressing the panic button like the neighbours across the road.
Yeah.
And whatnot. I think they're very, very meticulous about who they buy, especially since Guardiola's come in. And if anybody's seen the Amazon Prime documentary, you'll know what I mean with that. Don't think there was anybody really out there for City to go and get right now, so they're just going like, no, hold on a minute, let's just go with what we've got and then go again in the summer. Letting Angelino go out on loan was interesting because City need a left back, because Benjamin Mendy is unreliable at the minute. One day he's fit and the next he's out for like 6 months. It's ridiculous. I know Angelino's performances haven't been the greatest, but players are going to go through dips in form and everything like that, so maybe persevere with him. But then João Cancelo has played at left back to try and give him some more game time. I know there was rumours that he might leave, but I think Pep said that was down to him, and that the City were happy that he's here and he's just got to work hard to try and get in the team, and whatnot. I anticipate City will look in the market in the summer for a centre half, maybe a striker. I don't know, but there's some. It's going to be an interesting time at City over the next couple of years because of the age profile of the squad. It's starting to get that little bit older now. So it'll be interesting to see if Guardiola's going to stick around to produce that rebuild, or if he's just going to go, do you know what, I've done what I've wanted to do here in terms of create a philosophy at a football club that's going to stick, big tick, bring my style of football to the Premier League and win things. He's done it already. think he'd want to win the Champions League with City, I think, before he goes, but he might just get a bit frustrated with it and how long it's taken, because it's probably taken him a bit longer than anticipated. Thank you, Fernando Llorente and VAR for that one. But yeah, like I say, I think it's going to be an interesting time at City because the nature of the squad and the age profile of the squad is getting that little bit older now. Do I see a lot coming through the academy with that? Not particularly, because it's going to be very, very difficult for those players to reach the levels that City squad have got at the minute.
Yeah.
I know that they're saying that Foden's going to replace David Silva, and you're just like, oh, that's a monster in waiting.
We're just going to go from playing around 500 minutes a season to playing 2,000 plus. Will he be able to handle it is the question.
Yeah, because of the environment he's in, and especially if Guardiola's there and whatnot, he'll be able to handle it, no problem at all.
I like your confidence in him.
Well, you have to be confident. As a player, you got to be confident. As a manager, you got to believe and be confident in your players. And Guardiola certainly believes in Phil Foden. What he's trying to do is not rush him in, and then him potentially burn out later on in his career. He's giving him the exposure every now and then, giving him a hunger and a taste for it, and then it's right. Do you want this or not? So yeah, it's going to be down to the player, but I think the player believes in himself a lot. So yeah, City will be fine, I think.
Perfect, and that's 20 teams covered.
Done well there.
We're struggling towards the teams that haven't done anything.
Yeah, well, they haven't done anything. I think with some of them it was, and
Didn't
like with
need
most they didn't potentially need to, but a lot of it I think was keeping hold of players, and I think a lot of the teams in the Premier League this time around have managed to do it, whereas previously they've not had the ability and the capability to do so because another club has just come in for them, and you know they've expressed the desire to go, but yeah, this time it's not really happened. So it was a quiet window for the Premier League especially, but you know I anticipate a busier one in the summer for sure.
Perfect. So that's it from us today, guys. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment on what you want us to talk about over the next 4 weeks, because for some reason we have a winter break. And yeah, also listen on Spotify, and we'll see you guys next time.